I've got the wing template cut out, and I've already fast forwarded here, and I've cut out the other parts here. The same techniques apply. The same things I showed you to cut the wings out would apply to the other parts like the spar and all the other parts that come with this kit. Now, for example, the nice thing about the way I do it and the way I tape these together is that you can then fold these over like so on where the parts are taped, and then you can store them. So, for example, all these parts here, which you want, if you want to reuse them later, you can. I just stuff them into the wing like so, and I can just file this away somewhere. And if I want to build another plane, I don't have to cut this out again. I could just reuse these templates. Okay, so now we're gonna take the template that we've cut out, and I'm gonna place it on the foam board carefully. Now you can on the PDF plans you can kind of see where you want to place these and all the other parts on the foam board. I just generally try and put them like this one for this particular plane. I put them off in the corner as much as possible to try and minimize the scrap foam, and then I simply just lay it on there, and I just use a pencil and I just lightly trace the pattern onto the foam board. It's very easy and simple. Just gotta make sure that you don't shift this template around, otherwise the patterns is gonna get warped. So I try and be very careful not to move things around. Make sure this doesn't slide. If you want, you could tape the paper down, but then that could cause a tear on the paper on the foam board, and you don't want to do that. That will cause problems later. And it's not absolutely critical to get it perfectly right. As you can see here, I'm running over the paper here. It's okay. Not a big deal. Because a lot of these lines are they're straight lines, so I'm gonna be using a large ruler to cut these perfectly straight anyway. And actually, it's probably not even necessary to draw
the entire
line. Sometimes I just draw the insides here like this.
Yeah.
Like this. Like so. So if you want to trace the whole thing out, you can. You obviously want to trace these curves out. No. So. And you want to trace these holes out for the.
So Albert's going to tell us a technique about all these score lines and how to get those transferred onto your foam board in just a second.
Okay, so probably for these score lines here, I don't need. I'm going to draw these lines here so that I have a point of reference for these.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to draw these lines onto the foam board because you just need the ends, and then you can just use your ruler to score those with your knife. So I just slide these over just a touch, just a couple millimeters, and then I just mark them like that. And I know from the plans that these are score lines, and then I can use my ruler later.
Tell us what is a score line again?
The score lines here are for the foldovers to create the shape of the wing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you score the paper, it allows the foam to bend without it crinkling in random.
So basically, it's you're just cutting the top edge of the paper or the top layer of the paper. Is that correct?
Exactly. You're not cutting all the way through the foam. You're just cutting the paper so that the foam will know where to bend. And then I'll just do the other side over here. And you just draw them in by hand like so.
You need to teach the foam where to bend. We have to educate it.
Right. So that's pretty much it. Now you take this pattern away.
Mm-hmm.
You can see there's obviously a lot of spaces here that are missing that I didn't draw in, but it's not a big deal because I take my big ruler here, and when I'm cutting it, I just connect the lines and then cut it like that.
Cool.
So we're gonna go ahead and start cutting it.
Nice.
Yeah. Actually, this right here is going to be this is the aileron cut right here.
Yes. Do you need to mark that?
No, it's already marked. See? Marked
Okay.
here,
Oh.
marked here.
Oh. Gotcha. Gotcha.
It's gonna be connected like so.
Okay.
Okay, so I usually have a bigger cutting mat.
Yes.
So this is going to be tricky.
Yeah.
Big here.
You can.
I don't want to cut the laminate.
Yeah.
It's sharp.
Will it cut? Will it mark it?
It'll probably cut it. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess so.
So I'm going to try and make sure that I have. Okay. So yeah, and I want to make sure that I don't cut through.
Yeah.
If
you go through, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal.
Well, I need these for these parts here.
Oh yes, yes.
So I think where I want to cut. Okay.
Yeah. If you want, you could always cut from here to here and just cut cut that part out later if you want.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
All right.
I'm going to cut. So it's a little challenging with a smaller cutting mat. I want to cut the table. And then the trick with the cutting foam board is sometimes if your knife isn't sharp enough, you're going to tear the paper, but you want to line it up, and sometimes you can go through twice. So I'll try and get it once, but if I feel like it's the knife is a little dull, I'll go through twice. This one's pretty sharp, so it's going to go right through easy like that. And then
All right, we're on our way to having a wing.
on our way.
Sorry for the small cutting mat.
It's a little tricky. Yeah, I still want to cut the table.
Nah. And here he's just going point to point because there's going to be a negative spot we're going to cut out.
Right.
Hey, we're just basically cutting out the outside
Yeah.
pattern.
Because we want to use this other foam here for the other pieces.
Yes, these wide blades, they do not like to go around corners well, so that's why Albert is doing it this way.
Yeah, so I'm going to do all the curved edges after all the straight edges. There we go.
I do have a ruler behind you, by the way, in case you want another metal ruler. It's slightly longer than that one.
I think here. Yeah, this is tricky.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't be afraid to go through twice.
Do you ever turn the foam over before you separate it to make sure you've gone all the way through?
Sometimes I'll check, but you can kind of tell when you've gone all the way through. It sounds really clean.
Mm-hmm.
If it starts tearing, it just sounds like you're tearing paper.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you can hear when the second time through, you didn't hear any noise. So basically, you went through the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a pretty sharp knife. All right. See if I can pop this out now. Let's see here. Okay, so you can see that I have not gone through in some sections. I have to go back over and there we go. And you can hear it nice and clean now. Now it's coming up. Okay, so now I'm going to do these inside curves. These are kind of tricky to do. Just got to get an X-Acto knife and just trace it out. by hand. So what I like to do with these sections is cut the paper first and some of the foam, and then go through a second time to the other side and cut the other side of the paper, which is it's very difficult to do this kind of curve in one swoop. So I just kind of lightly go through the paper here, make sure it's clean, and part way through the foam.
Yeah, this looks like a section where everything can go wrong.
It could, but if you're careful and go through a second time like so, it just makes things, there you go. And now you can see on the other side, it's gone through, it's nice and clean.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. And just do this over here. So don't be afraid to go through twice, 3 times. Make sure you get it the way you like it. If you try and do it in one swoop, you'll probably drag the paper and tear it on their side. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to save this foam for the other parts. And it's not quite coming loose yet because we got this section here. That almost. And flip it over and then just get the rest of it with your X-Acto knife, and the last sections that are holding on here. There we go. Great. So now we got our wing out, and now we're going to do the score cuts. So you might want to refer back to the template itself. And along with the hash marks or the little tick marks that you placed on here. I want to show you how I cut these curves here. These are actually a little bit easier than these inside curves. What I do is I just simply use a straight edge and cut the sections like so. So it kind of matches the curve, and then anywhere that's kind of sticking out a little bit, I just slice it off.
Sweet.
That's how you get a curve like that.
Awesome.
Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how I do the little holes here in the wing here. This can be a little tricky. What I do is I use an X-Acto knife on the one side, and I don't go all the way through because you can't really realistically cut these holes out in one swoop. It usually takes 2 or 3 times. So I'll cut the paper first, and then a little bit of the foam on each of these. And flip it around. The other side. Okay, so I don't want my ruler fall over, so I'll just put a little piece on the side here so it doesn't slide.
Capsize.
Yep.
That's a good tip.
Okay, and then we'll cut the paper this way on these edges. So the trick to getting these holes out without tearing the paper is to poke holes to the other side. So obviously I've cut this side, but I don't know what it looks like on the other side. I can drag my knife through, and then I can poke holes on the shorter sections that will go through to the other side.
Yeah, it'll just indicate where that line is.
Yeah, and then when I flip it over, I can then cut it out.
Cool.
And then once you've cut the paper on both sides, the foam will just pop right out. Let's do, okay, so you're gonna have to zoom in here. It's gonna be hard to see. Can you see the indentations here? And does it come out at all?
Not really. Let's see here. Let's see. Point your finger right towards the tip of one of them. Let's see. I see it's right there.
It's really hard to see. Does that focus at all?
Nope. Hey, let me see if I can tap to focus here. Oh yeah, I can see the line now.
Okay, so when you flip the foam board over, you'll see the cut through lines
Do that one.
right here and here.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that'll give you an indication of where you want to cut the paper on this side, like so. And then you can see where I also cut here as well.
It's already coming up. Nice.
And it should just pop right out. Once you've cut the paper all the way through on both sides, this little piece will just pop right out.
Nice.
So, there we go.
No, does this autofocus or oh wait. Okay, there we go. We're back to focused.
Were you able to see all the lines?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay. And then it should just pop right out like that.
Sweet.
There you go.
All right, very cool. Okay.
We don't have to show the other ones.
So guys, we're going to pop out all the rest of them, and we'll rejoin you here in a sec.
So now on the plans here, you can see we have these score lines. We're gonna put these score lines on the foam here by lining up these hash marks that I made with our ruler, and just lightly score that on the foam, like so.
So once again, a score cut is just cutting the top paper and not going any deeper than that. Is that correct?
Right. You can go a little bit into the foam, but generally it's not advised since it's not. You're just using this as a fold over. So I just cut very lightly.
So you're just lightly drawing that over the paper.
Lightly drawing that over the paper.
You do not want to go all the way through.
Do not go all the way through to their side.
Otherwise, you'll be in a world of hurt.
You'll have to start taping stuff together again. Okay, so
Albert Kim's channel and 7M07 sponsored by Dr. Pepper.
It's very tricky. I slide this one and the other slide. The other side slides out. Okay. And then so these are the score lines, but then the other ones that we want to cut are the aileron bevel here and the main bevel of the wing right here.
Mm-hmm.
Now these, since we have to crack them open, I'm going to go a little bit deeper, but not all. But you do not want to go all the way through the other side.
So that's just going from point to point over here.
This is where the wing's going to fold over. Right here.
And once again, guys, this is actually not a full instructional video, but this is giving you guys a lot of the tips on general foam board building airplanes. And like I said before, Albert's done probably well over 10 airplanes. He's really picked up a lot of tips, so this is going to be really helpful for me. And I should be building the next wing after this, since this is the first wing.
And we'll learn what Jeff has learned.
I'm going to take what I learned and put it into practice.
So on this one here, which is the main bevel for the fold over the wing, I cut a little bit deeper so you can see that we can then crack this open like that. I'm not going to do it all the way right now. I'm going to do the aileron next.
Are you going to do the thing where they take a credit card and kind of pass it through there, or take the Sharpie?
You can use a credit card. For this plane, I'm going to actually use the technique they use in the Flitetest videos, where they use the knife and cut the bevel cut in. Okay. Because I actually think that's better.
Oh, okay.
You want to just cut that material out, because it's just going to cause it to make the process
kind of bunch up.
Makes the process a little bit harder than it should be. So you're going to line this up. Let me think here. Aileron is. This is on the inside.
Yeah, so this is going to fold over that, and yeah.
It's going to fold over that way. The hinge is going to be on the top side. This is the inside.
Right,
So
exactly.
I just make sure I'm cutting on the right side. It's been a little while since I built this, so don't remember.
And we just we watched the film on Andrew Newton with his hot wire cut one, which was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So we just open that up, and I think that gets all of our things here. Oh,
so
also
we're going to do the servo.
Yes, we got to do the servo. Let me think here. This is for the power pod thing here.
The remove for electronics pod.
Yeah, that's for the pod.
Yeah.
For the FPV stuff.
Ah, yeah.
So this pattern's got to go here, I'm trying to think. How did I do this? I'm trying to remember what I did. I think I just
lopped it off, right?
No, I think I. Where's that pencil? There it is. I think what I did is I marked it because it follows this curve here.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be perfect. So I think I marked it here. And then this is tricky. I think I have to measure that. So this is about 1 inch, it looks like. And I'm gonna mark it 1 inch right here. So I think this whole section here is going to be where that electronics pod is going to get cut out. And I think we're going to do it a little later. I'll have to watch the build video again. I have it on my tablet.
Yeah.
At some point we cut this out, but it's not until later.
Okay. Well, we can always take a lunch and like we can review it real quick.
And we'll probably have to do that. I think it goes to there and then like that.
I see. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect because you have some room to sort of fidget.
Yeah. I see.
Okay. All right. So now that we've got the score cuts in here, we're gonna, this particular hole pattern is for the servos that Flitetest recommends.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thinner, it's a smaller servo, and it's lighter.
Yeah.
Jeff's got these 9-gram servos.
9 grams. Yeah. Solar servos.
And obviously you can see here that it's a little bit thicker and not quite as long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace out the pattern of his servo in here, so we cut the hole out for the right size. Okay, so it's basically I'm going to center it, and it's a fatter and
Shorter.
shorter. So I'm gonna cut. So I'm going to cut this out. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because this area is going to get a lot of glue anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and most people aren't going to see it.
It's okay for it to be a little snug too, to kind of hang on to the servo. Yeah.
Exactly. The nice thing about the foam board is that it's very giving and flexible. So then I'm just going to mark holes like that, just punch through the other side, like so. So I know where I need to cut on the paper on the other side.
We call Albert the foam whisperer.
And
Let's see if I can.
see if you can get that to show up. How that?
Yep. Oh, I can totally see it.
So now that you have some indication marks, they'll show up, and you can just cut the paper like so, and it'll just pop right out. There you go.
Right on.
So we're done with this one.
Cool.
On to the next wing.
On to the next wing.
Yep.
All right.